payment delays, and people get really, really upset on YouTube about this topic specifically, but it is a huge deal. And it's not myself or Jason saying your payments are going to be delayed. The VA secretary himself spoke about it many times. The VA press secretaries have spoke about the payments being delayed. Jason, can you give us an overview of this payment delaying that will occur if nothing gets passed? Our November 1st payment will be delayed. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, so, we've been talking about a lot. I got chickens going on in the background. Sorry about that. So what we're looking at is you'll hear or you'll see or you'll read the $15 billion shortfall. Okay, that's actually two different shortfalls combined. One is on the VBA side, which is the benefits administration side. The other is on the healthcare side. So it's two different kind of, heads of that three-headed VA monster. So on the VHA side, that's the 12. That's really next year kind of a deal that they're working on, and who knows how that's going to pan out. On the other side is this $3 billion. And like Clay said, the VA secretary himself and others within the VA warn against, hey, look, if this funding, $3 billion, does not happen by September 20th, which is, days away, we, the VA, will not be able to send out payments for various compensation benefits. So, yes, your payment is at risk of being delayed. Like Clay said, it's not. I'm not saying that. It's not some sort of weird scare tactic, right? Believe me, I care. I hope to God they get it passed. My call to action here to anybody who's watching this is contact your congressional office. There's two things that need to happen, and here's the problem. The number one thing, the goal here is to get the $3 billion so everybody gets paid, right? That's the goal. But there's a problem. Why are they $15 billion short? So there's efforts in place to identify that cause and try to put some sort of provisions in there to prevent it or check or whatever, so this type of stuff doesn't happen again. What happens when that happens is it creates more delays in passing legislation because you have all these different things in there. So it's almost, in my opinion, like you have two pieces of the legislation to fix the problem. You have the money piece, here's your $3 billion. Then you have the everything else piece of that legislation. We really need to focus on, there's days. I'm guessing this is going to be posted Monday the 16th, right? So now we got days. So reach out to your congressional office, both on the House and the Senate side, because guess what? Not only does it have to pass the House side, it then needs to go over to the Senate side, then it needs to go to the president. So we don't have any time. Call your congressional office. If you don't want to call because you don't like talking to people, that's fine. Email your congressional office. If you don't like to email, but you don't like to talk to people, then call after hours. Call tonight, right? And leave a voicemail. If you're an in-person person, swing by their office. They got staff. The congressperson's not there, right? But their staffers are. You can go in there and have a conversation. Hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what I always say, Clay. When we think about it, we think about ourselves doing it. Imagine if there was 1,000 veterans and surviving spouses and spouses and dependents who are 18 or over in a line going in to go talk to their congressman or woman's office, right? About a specific condition. Imagine that. You don't think that the congressperson's going to know that here's the thing. There's two things that I look at here. One is, we're addressing the issue at hand. Awesome. Do I think that Congress is going to, I think it's going to be last minute. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to fund the $3 billion. Okay. But does that mean don't act? No, it doesn't. You need to pretend like you don't think it's going to happen. So that way you can go in with a little bit of fervor, right? And what this does is it shows your congressional member that you, as a veteran, as a spouse, as a surviving spouse, as a dependent, are paying attention. That is a scary constituency for that congressional member. Because believe me, they pander to those paying attention. You can pay attention or you can't, right? Or you don't. You do or you don't. And if you don't, then, I mean, we get what we get. But if you do, we can actually get the things that we need and want. You, Clay.
Yeah, those who don't speak are most likely not going to vote, and those who speak most likely are going to vote. So they will pander to this right here. I want to share, not that tab. This tab right here, the VFW has a very simple action alert to avoid lapse in your VA benefits. There's a quick little link right here that you can follow as well. If you just Google VFW action alert, this will pop up because this is the biggest news as of today, and this is going to be posted on the 16th. And the last thing I want to say on that, or to continue that conversation, is the $3 billion is just for the VBA side of the house, which is what we're talking about specifically with payments. That includes disability and GI Bill, VRNE, basically any VA benefit you're getting is what we're talking about, not healthcare. Which is my point, right? What happens if the $3 billion's passed, but not the lapse for the $12 billion in the VHA? I have no idea what that looks like. I assume there's like a emergency stash for VHA, but you know, it would really suck to, for instance, I have a TBI clinic appointment next month, to have that delayed. It would suck for me, but I can get it rescheduled. But what about those who need that care specifically? That's why it's a big deal here. And to speak on politics, which I absolutely hate. I'm from Kentucky. Okay, we do not like any of that stuff. What I think is going to happen is each side of the aisle is going to point blame, you know? So this side's going to say, hey, that administration, because it's a appointed position, that administration caused it, blah, 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 blah. We are the saviors who are going to pass this. And so you'll see articles in the House coming out. They've already came out over the weekend of, you know, House Republicans proposed bill for that, whatever. That's going to happen a lot. You're also going to see the opposite, where it's like Senate Dems or House Dems proposed bill to say this. And so I say that because each side is going to point blame. Each side is going to take credit. And none of that matters because it's the veteran. We're in the middle just getting pulled left and right. And it's just absolutely insane to me that topics like this on veteran benefit payments, you know, I can survive 1 month without my payment. I'm also in school, so I get a GI Bill and a disability payment. I can survive 1 month. Will it suck? Yes, but that's me. What about those who are paycheck to paycheck and that's their only source of income, and VA healthcare is their only source of healthcare? That could seriously put them in a bind. Not only they're going to be late paying their rent. Now there's late fees, late paying their credit card. Now there's late fees. And so
mental health conditions.
Yeah, it's insane. That's the importance of benefit payments being delayed. It must be passed by September 20th to go through the whole process up to the president. And if it's not, we will not be paid on November 1st. I mean, that's as simple as I can put it. And that's from the VA. The VA secretary has been kind of pointing the finger too. For instance, he just went to the American Legion's National Convention. I think this is the most recent article on this topic specifically. And pretty much what he said, paraphrase, he was like, hey, we've been telling Congress that we're short. They haven't done anything about it. They know we're short. It's in their hands now. And not to point blame at the VA secretary, but too little, too late. You know, it's like, hey, it wasn't just a budget shortfall. Like, hey, I'm $10 short. Let me run to the ATM. It's a $15 billion budget shortfall. So something went wrong, seriously, on the budget and analysis side, which is not my expertise. I'm not a spreadsheet person. But for the secretary to point blame like that, I'm not really a big fan. You know, we talked about, Jason and I talked about the bonuses that went out for the critical skill incentives. And pretty much what the secretary said was, I didn't know. Right. And it's just like, dude, that is a appointed, I don't know works for a specialist or a lance corporal,
Right.
not the Secretary of Veteran Affairs. But that's, I don't know. It'll make me angry if I keep talking about it. So I'm going to kick it back to you, Jason.
Yeah, you know what? I'm there's been too many calamities, too many big issue errors over the last 4 years. And look, not to be political, and I'm not, and I'm going to preface it with this, is that veterans issues are absolutely and should always be bipartisan, period. It doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter who's appointed. I personally am a fan of, it would be nice if the secretary was a veteran. I mean, the current one is not a veteran, and is only second one, I believe, in history to hold this position as a non-veteran, which is fine. It doesn't mean that veterans are smarter and could manage it. I mean, people are people. I get it. But there's been too many problems this past 4 years. I could rattle off all of the different technical issues, all the IT problems that they've had. Huge, lots of money, billions of dollars in IT issues. You had the intent to files at the beginning of the PACT Act couldn't get filed. Their system was kicking them out. System went down. You could not imagine that there was going to be a big influx of people coming and your system crashes. The unaccounted for reconciliation of Social Security versus pension payments and the overpayment to pension people. By the way, those receiving pension are probably the most vulnerable of all of us financially. And now you're going to rip money back from them. Probably the wrong move. The mortgage issue with the forbearance agreements through COVID, and then they ripped that program away while people were starting that process and actually got foreclosed on because the VA ripped that away with no sort of contingency plan. I have seen no contingency plans for anything. And in fact, the VA secretary actually, in this circumstance of the $15 billion, was actually asked, not exactly like this, but basically, do you have a contingency plan if you don't get the funding? Well, not at this time. We're pretty much just focused on getting the money. Well, that's what led to all your other effing problems.
Yeah.
I mean, because you don't have any contingency plans. Your leadership team, who I have zero trust in, has no contingency plans. And so what happens, right? I am not a fan. And, at the beginning, look, I give everybody, look, run, do it. You say a good thing. Awesome. But when it's 3, 4, 5, I think 5 or 6 now, huge, big deal issues, there's a problem. I think he should have been replaced, honestly. But here we are. So the $3 billion is the VA is just sitting there with their fingers crossed. He's already said that he's leaving. He's already out the door. And to blame Congress now when he had given them about a week's notice before their summer recess that they're actually short, which was a contradiction to the budget proposal that he submitted 2 months before that. Then comes 2 months later and says, oh, we're short. Oh, by the way, Congress is leaving. So wink, wink, nod, nod. I don't know if some of this was planned craziness or not, but it seems a bit interesting that we're this screwed up. All right. I know that we're pushing time limits now.
No, we are good. And I'm glad you brought up politics and the VA. And one thing I've noticed, and this is just an indication, okay, of all these big problems Jason and I and a lot of other YouTubers will cover, in every instance, literally every single one, the VA secretary and the press secretary, and basically any word that has the Department of Veteran Affairs label on it, they all say the same exact thing. And that's what pisses me off more than anything, because now we're looking at themes and listen, I was psychological operations in the Marine Corps. Yeah. This is my lane. Yeah. And I can see what they're doing. And they all say, talk to me about the $15 billion shortfall. Talk to me about fraudulent DBQs. Talk to me about how doctors, VA doctors won't do DBQs for veterans. Whatever problem it is, here's the response. You know, this year since the PACT Act, we've served over 1 million veterans. Veterans are getting more benefits than ever before. End quote. Okay.
Yeah.
Seriously, look at any problem set.
Yep.
You will see that quote in there.
It will be buried in there. Yep.
That's what pisses me off, because it is literally what we call a theme and message, which is how to politically, you know, go for the course, par on the course, if you will. And it just really makes me mad. That's the last thing I'll say about that, Jason, unless that brought anything up.
No, it does, but I don't want to belabor this any longer. I'm sure that everybody agrees that, you know, nobody likes any of this.
Yeah. But hey, more veterans are getting more benefits than ever before. Everyone say hippie, yay. Okay.